Why does your garden take so much work but still stop feeding you halfway through the season? Most garden plans are built around planting once and not around keeping food coming. In this video, I'm going to show you the 5-step planning framework I use in my own small garden so it keeps producing instead of quietly falling apart. A few years ago, I had a huge garden with 28 raised beds, and on paper it looked successful. Everything was planted, things were growing, and early in the season it felt amazing. But week by week, production dropped, and the garden, which was something that was supposed to bring peace, started adding a lot of pressure instead. When I downsized to a tiny backyard as a single mom of 3, I couldn't afford for my space to be wasted. It had to earn its keep, and that forced me to completely rethink how I planned my garden. Out of that came this 5-step framework. This is a way of thinking so your small space actually feeds you instead of burning you out. Let's walk through it step by step. The first step is space, but not in the way most people think about it. In my big 28-bed garden, I believed that if I just got everything planted at the beginning of spring, no space would be wasted and every bed could be productive at the same time, producing lots of food. But here's how that played out in real life. I'd walk into the garden and feel like everything needed attention at once. Harvesting here, troubleshooting there, and nothing was technically failing, but I constantly felt like I was. What I didn't understand back then was that giving every space equal importance all at the same time doesn't create abundance or a peaceful rhythm, it creates pressure. The shift happened when I downsized after nearly quitting and started asking, where does the bulk of our food actually need to come from? And now, instead of treating all my beds the same, each one has a primary responsibility in terms of how the food is used in our meals. In my small backyard garden, a 4x8 bed might be responsible for salads, peas, and radishes early in the season, followed by more salad interplanted with tomatoes and green onions in the summer, and then more salad, green onions, cucumbers, and finally broccoli and cabbage. A 2x9 bed is primarily for carrots, followed by peppers, followed by beets, and more carrots. A 2x4 elevated self-watering planter is my herb garden. Grow bags might be for herbs and potatoes. When a bed has a clear job, it becomes much easier to make decisions. So space in this framework isn't about the perfect layout yet, it's about responsibility. Once you've dialed in on which beds are responsible for which foods, you've taken the first step toward a high-value garden that actually supports you. Once your beds have clear jobs, the next challenge is making sure they don't all produce at once and then go quiet, and that's what the next step solves. The second step is multiple harvests, and this is where the plan turns into actual food. This step explains why so many gardens start strong and then quietly fade. For years, my planning stopped at one question: what should I plant? And honestly, that feels completely logical, but the pattern was always the same. Spring and early summer felt abundant, harvests came in all at once, and then production slowed way down. I'd harvest a bed, feel accomplished, clear it out, and then later realize that nothing was replacing that food. The plan ended at the harvest, and that's the mistake. Planting isn't the only win, production is an even bigger one. High-value gardens are not built around one-time harvests that leave gaps behind. They're built around foods that keep producing during the season they're meant for, and/or are immediately followed by a replacement crop. I'm not trying to make the garden perfect or fill every space at all costs. I'm just trying to remove the constant "what do I do next" feeling that creates stress. For example, instead of filling a whole bed with one big planting of lettuce that all bolts at once, I can stagger plantings every few weeks, focus on cut and come again greens that regrow after harvesting, and then already know which quick crop is going in after that bed is cleared. And this is exactly why I care so much about proven varieties. When your goal is constant food, reliability matters. I put together a free 28 proven varieties guide with the exact varieties I come back to year after year because they reliably earn their space in a small garden. If you want help choosing varieties that actually produce, that guide is linked for you below. Even when food keeps coming though, the plan can still fall apart if the crops don't fit your time, energy, or real life, which is why alignment matters. Even a productive crop becomes a burden if it doesn't fit your life. Alignment became non-negotiable for me when my life didn't have any extra bandwidth. Just a few years ago, I was going through a difficult time and I had tons of space to maintain on my own while raising 3 young kids and less time. I had grown crops that performed well on paper but demanded more time, attention, or energy than I realistically had to give. And that's when the garden stopped supporting me and started competing with everything else, and I almost quit. The mindset shift happened when I downsized and built my smaller garden. I stopped asking, can I grow this? And I started asking, can I keep growing this? And that one question removed so much stress. A very tangible way to spot an alignment issue is this. If there's a crop that makes you feel stress or disappointment every single season, that's probably an alignment problem. For example, I stopped growing pumpkins in my small space. Could I grow them? I tried, but they needed constant checking for vine borers, careful timing for hand pollination, and a lot of space for a crop that's been unreliable for me for years. On the other hand, something like evergreen bunching onions quietly produces for months with a lot less space and drama. In seasons when my time is stretched, those aligned crops are worth far more than the impressive but demanding ones. So being mindful about alignment before you lock in your plan lets you say no earlier instead of hitting midsummer feeling overwhelmed and given up on valuable space. The next breakdown usually happens when a crop finishes and nothing is planned to replace it. Rotation and replacement is about whether a bed goes quiet after harvest or keeps working for you. When nothing is planned to follow a harvest, momentum breaks, even if everything was growing beautifully before. And here's a simple way to handle this now. For each bed, I decide on at least one next crop before the season even starts. After spring lettuce comes out, bush beans go in. After early peas are done, cucumbers and pole beans take the trellises. After garlic is harvested, I already know which quick crop or late summer planting is going to go there. When you decide what comes next ahead of time, those transitions become automatic instead of overwhelming. Once you know what to grow, how long it produces, and what comes next, the next piece is learning how to plan around the season instead of fighting it. For a long time, I thought timing meant getting dates exactly right, and I'd circle exact dates on a calendar, and then when the season didn't match the plan, everything felt stressful and urgent. What finally helped was realizing that timing isn't about controlling the season, it's about not being surprised by it. And now when I plan my small space garden, I don't pretend the season's gonna be perfect. I expect transitions and slowdowns. I expect an early heat wave to knock out my spinach, and I expect a late frost to delay something. And because I expect it, the garden doesn't feel quite as fragile or overwhelming anymore. For example, I already assume that August in my climate will be rough on certain crops, so instead of seeing that as failure, I build in lighter harvest expectations, more shade cloth, or plan to lean on perennials and storage crops during that time. Being mindful of timing doesn't give you control over the weather, but it does help remove the surprise and keeps you from giving up mid-season. When you put all 5 of these together, space, multiple harvests, alignment, rotation and replacement, and timing, something really important shifts. The garden stops feeling like a constant problem to solve, and it starts feeling like a system you can trust. For a lot of people though, even a good plan struggles if the plants in it aren't reliable or don't earn their space. That's why I put together my free 28 proven varieties guide. These are the specific varieties I grow year after year because they work well in small spaces, produce consistently, and fit into this kind of planning without adding stress. If you want help choosing crops that support this system instead of fighting it, you're going to find that guide linked below. And if you want to see what this framework looks like once it's established with plants that keep showing up for you year after year, tap the next video on your screen. I'll walk you through 7 high-value perennial crops that quietly strengthen a garden like this over time. Thanks so much for spending this time with me, and I'll see you in the next one.